You are listening to the Be a Better Being podcast, hosted by the founder of Better Beings, Michelle Zellner. Michelle's experiences have equipped her with knowledge and perspective, and for nearly 3 decades, she has been informing, influencing, and inspiring thousands on their journeys. This show spotlights guests of diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise, but they all align with Michelle's purpose and passion to help you be a better human being. There is something for everyone on their way to a healthier, happier life. Enjoy the show.
Greetings and Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Be a Better Being podcast. I am so excited to be here, kicking off 2025. I hope you had a delightful end of the year, wonderful holidays, spending it with family, friends, maybe a little food, hopefully some fun. But now we are at that time of year where perhaps you are getting ready to set yourself up to make some goals, achieve some accomplishments, hopefully getting excited about the year ahead. And if you have been following me for even the shortest period of time, you know that I'm a huge fan of a vision board. And that is what I'm going to talk to you today about. Also, to let you know that our annual virtual vision board workshop is coming up this weekend, Saturday, January 11th, which is National Vision Board Day. As always, I have amazing speakers who are going to come in and share some insights and some information, hopefully some inspiration, something that will really ignite the passion in you to make some choices, engage in some behaviors, modify your approach to something, perhaps give you a mindset shift, whatever you feel like the block is that has either not allowed you to achieve goals or get to some kind of accomplishment that you've been striving for, or to just keep you going on this path. So let me give you a little bit of backstory about my approach with all of this. I definitely was that girl who rolled her eyes at vision boards, probably going back, I don't know, maybe 10-ish years ago by now. You know, someone would say, oh, make a vision board and just like manifest your life. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm going to put some words and pictures on a board and then life is going to be amazing. Well, that actually isn't how it works. But I think a lot of people think it does work that way, which is why they don't do it, or they do it and then nothing happened. And so they're like, oh, it doesn't work. Yeah, no, you actually do have to do things. You have to engineer things to a degree. And the first step is to actually declare, what do you want? What are you striving for? What are some things that, you think like you should do, or habits that you've been trying to modify, goals you've been trying to reach, and for whatever reason haven't yet? You have to say it out loud first and really drill in and get clear about it. Also, there should be a really good reason why you want to do it. So I know you've all heard me talk about what's your why? What is that personally meaningful reason for why you want this to happen? If you don't have a good reason, the likelihood that you're going to do what is necessary to make it happen is pretty slim. So there are many, many steps to the whole process, but it really does start with declaring a vision, clarifying for yourself what is important to you. I shifted out of goal setting a long time ago. My goal setting would usually go something like this. I'm going to try to eat better. I'm going to try to be nicer to my sister. I'm really going to try to pay off that credit card bill. And then I would try and, oh, well, couldn't do it. It didn't work. And after going down that road a few times, I thought, I don't know, there's probably something wrong with this approach. And what I realized was that it's not that I failed. It's that I didn't set myself up to succeed. And what that means is I have to identify the reasons why I'm not doing these things in the first place. And also understand that I am in control of me. I used to think, well, I tried to be nice to my sister, but she wasn't nice to me. And so I had to not be nice back. As long as she's nice to me, then I can do my end of the deal. Actually, that's not true. I can do my end of the deal no matter what. So a big piece of this is understanding that you control no one and nothing except for you. I control what I think, feel, say, and do. Do not, cannot, never will control what anybody else thinks or feels or says or does. If there are certain outcomes that I want, then I'm probably going to have to do certain things to get there. And I'm going to really want to figure out what are the obstacles that could potentially come in my path that are going to prevent me from getting there. And then I'm going to need to create a strategy for that obstacle. I think this might be one of the reasons people don't embark on this journey, because there is a lot more to it than sometimes people want to make it seem, right? There is actually a multi-step process. And unless you are a very active participant in the process, you're probably not going to get there. So I shifted out of goal setting, which when it comes right down to it, I wasn't setting goals. I was making statements, right? I'm going to try to eat better. That's a statement. That's not a goal. I'm going to try to exercise more. Great statement, not a goal. So we'll button up how to actually set a goal. But what I realized was beneficial for me was to think about my intentions, because that is all I am in control of, right? I have an intention to spend my time, money, and energy in certain ways. And I intend to spend them in those ways because I have these outcomes that I say I want. When I started doing this, the first couple of years, it was still a little shaky. What really solidified it for me, however, was when I sat at the end of the year and I reflected upon the year I just had, and I went through it all. Right? What were some great things that happened? What were really awesome experiences that I had? What accomplishments did I achieve? What were some things that maybe weren't that great? And how did I process or manage through them? And if I was faced with the same thing, would I do it the same way? Or have I learned from that experience and now I have a new skill or a new perspective or maybe, a whole new attitude? So if I face something similar again, now I have that to help me through it. When you take time to reflect, it actually provides value on so many levels. One, it actually gives you time to celebrate. And I think so often we're in this very fast-paced world, right? Move on, move on, move on, get to the next thing. We don't take the time to celebrate the wins, or we dismiss or diminish them. I often talk about the comma butter. You might be a comma butter. You're going to tell me something good, comma but, follow it up with all the ways it's not good enough. Or maybe you are a just only. I just this, I only that. Again, not good enough, right? Kind of dismissing and diminishing things we do. If that is you, I am going to encourage you to change that. We can celebrate something good, and we can still say that, yes, there's room for improvement. They can be two separate conversations. When you dismiss or diminish a good thing, you might as well not even have acknowledged it because you've completely destroyed its benefit. When you reflect, I think it also will highlight for you how many good things did happen. It is normal and natural for us to focus on the bad. If you've listened to me, you know my 2023, it was full of challenges. And about halfway through, somebody said to me, wow, you've had a really shitty year. And I looked and I said, that's actually not true. I've had a really great year. I've had some amazing things happen this year and some really hard things. Yeah. It's easy to lump it all into one thing, except that's probably not entirely accurate. So celebrate the wins and then do reflect on any of the challenges that you faced. My guess is you got through the challenge. I mean, that usually we do, right? And you get to learn something from that. So if you haven't already, maybe take a little time to just reflect upon 2024. Listen to my podcast with Sasha, the one that dropped a couple weeks ago, where we do our year in reflection. So you can hear all the things that I got to celebrate. Sasha got to celebrate as well, but we want you to celebrate. So I hope you'll take the time to do that. It's also a really good practice to help you determine, okay, what's next? Like what do I want the next phase to be? What are the next steps? And anytime that I've done that, it always is what leads me into what my intentions are for the following year. So because 2023 did have a lot of very, very, very big things, Like any one of them would have been enough. I had 3 or 4 of them. It's fine. It's what I'm here to do. Hard things. 2023's motto was be more, do more. And I mean, I really had to laugh at that as the universe is like, okay, Michelle, here you go. You asked for it. Here you go. I mean, it wasn't exactly my vision of be more, do more. It's cool. Well, because I was more and did more, my phrase for 2024 was simplify. Now, simplify doesn't mean just do the easy thing. For me, what that meant was only commit your time, money, or energy to things that are going to add value. There might be something that doesn't cost that much time, money, or energy, but it also doesn't give me very much in return. So in that case, it's still a waste. There are going to be things that cost me a lot of time, money, or energy. I have determined that I think I'll get value in return. So that theme, simplify, I mean, it really did. It really panned out. And I was getting ready for this vision board workshop that we have coming up here in a few days and went through my closet and pulling out materials and pulled out my 2024 vision board. Now, if you saw me on social media, you saw this already, but here it is. So my phrase was simplify. This is my vision board. Yes, it's a blank canvas for those of you not looking at it on YouTube. It's a blank canvas. That was not my intention. I have things cut out that were ready to go onto that canvas, just never made it. And it turns out I didn't need to make it because just knowing what my intention was to simplify, that is all I needed. I had that vision locked into my head and knew exactly what it meant. I am going to make a vision board for 2025. And so I personally like to have a theme or a motto or a phrase for the year. That really helps me wrap everything around in a nice cohesive way. It's kind of like a beacon, if you will, so that if I'm in the midst of making a decision or thinking about what I want to do next, or, is this going to be worth it? I go back to that phrase. So my phrase for 2025 is make the moment. It's interesting when you simplify how much abundance actually enters your life. And that's what I found with 2024. It's not complicated at all. It is just incredibly abundant. And I see these other opportunities for abundance, and I see and feel how amazing abundance coming from all facets of life really is. And that if I even put a tiny bit of extra effort into it, what it could possibly turn out to be. And so I decided I'm going to make the moment. I'm not going to be the moment. I'm not going to seize the moment. I'm going to make the moment, whatever that means. I'm spending time with my family. I'm going to make the moment. I'm, working on my business. I'm going to make the moment. There's a new connection I've established. I'm going to make the moment. That's what it means. So that is my phrase for the year. I'm really excited about it. And I just have a good feeling that 25 is going to be maybe a continuation or an expansion of 2024. So once you decide that you are going to go down this path, maybe set your goals, set intentions, make a vision board, the mechanics of it then really do have to be followed through. You can write a statement. So one of the things that I think is helpful, and I've done this in the past, is just imagine that you are sitting on December 31st, 2025. When you're reflecting on that year, what do you want to have accomplished? What experiences do you want to have had? What behaviors do you want to have modified or locked solidly into place? Fast forward to that future version of you who's looking back on this year that you just had. What are you celebrating? How are you feeling? Well, that right there is your vision for the year. So I know some people will tell me, I don't really have a vision. I don't really have anything that's interesting. I don't have any big things that I want to do. Well, that's the thing, is you don't know until you know. You don't know what you don't know. If you're going to wait around for life to give you things, to present you with things, you're going to be waiting a long time. You might be passing by a lot of years of your life. You are the engineer of your life. You are literally here to design your life. And you can only do that by being an active participant in it. Right. You're the project manager. I say that all the time. You are the project manager. That means you got to know what the project is. You have to do the work. You have to be measuring it, following it along the way, determining, is it working? Is it not working? Do I need to shift? Do I need to pivot? Do I need to add more? That's what being a project manager is. Clarify your goals, your values, your priorities. If you're really not sure what you want to do for the year, well, let's just start with, well, what's important to you? Name 5 things that are important to you. I bet you can name them right now. I can name 5 things. My health, my family, being financially stable. I mean, those are 3. Quality connections, super important. Certain projects that I want to get done. I really do. Those are still important to me. So there's 5 things. Okay. Why are they important to me? We can go even deeper. Right? So I encourage you to go as deep as you can on these things. Once you really drill down and identify why something is important to you, then you can evaluate, how close or far away am I from this? And what do I need to do to get closer? Because remember, you are in control of you. I control what I think, feel, say, and do. Do not, cannot, never will control what anyone else thinks or feels or says or does. So maybe it's important to you to buy a house. Okay, why is that important? Well, because I want stability. I want something that's mine. I want to have, this big asset that I can start to build equity. Okay, great. Really great reasons. How close are you to getting to buy that house? How much do you need? What house do you want to buy? Where do you want this house to be? Because when you answer all those questions, you can then determine, is this realistic? Is it realistic that I will be able to buy a house in the year 2025, given what you know today? I think a lot of times we run away to the future, say, well, but I probably won't be able to, or I might not be able to, or this could happen. And all of that also just kind of halts us in our tracks. You make your decisions based on current reality, your capabilities, your resources, your information, the knowledge you have at this moment. That is what I'm going to base my decision and my goals and my intentions on. Not the what ifs, because we could what if ourselves all day long, and then you'll never get anywhere. So it is a good way to actually measure if I'm being realistic or not, given what I currently know, right? You don't know what you don't know. You don't know the unknowns. I mean, that's just life. And anybody who thinks that you do know what's in the future, I'm here to tell you that you are wrong. So once you have this stated goal or outcome or something that you've decided is important to you, and you recognize that it's within the realm of possibility, well, now we're going to figure out, okay, so what's the plan? Specifically, what is the plan to be able to buy a house? There's many steps that have to take place, right? Maybe you still need to accumulate enough for a down payment. Maybe we're still cleaning up a credit score. Perhaps we're still kind of sorting out what kind of house, what kind of dwelling do we want? Maybe particular neighborhoods or wherever, right? There's probably still details to sort out. The sooner you can sort out those details, the easier it's going to be, the quicker you can get going on the plan. And then there is an element of discipline, y'all. You can't just hope that it's going to work or hope that you're going to save the money. No, you actually have to do the do. You have to do the work. That is called making choices. And every choice you make means another one was not made. This is why whatever is on your vision board or whatever you have decided is something you want to achieve for the year, it has to be important. This is why I go back to your why. Because in that moment where you could, blow $2,000 going to Cabo, or you could put that $2,000 towards your down payment, you have to decide what is more important. Now, maybe this trip to Cabo, and I'm just using that as an example, sounds delightful at about this time. Maybe at that moment, you really, really, really need that. Maybe there's something going on in life and this is an opportunity and who knows, right? Maybe you really need that. anytime you are going to make a choice that is getting you farther away from something else that you said is important, it needs to be worth it. And you can't say, oh, it's always worth it, and still get the outcome that you say you want. Those two things are probably not going to work out well. So it really just comes down to choice, and then you own the choice, and you go to Cabo and you have an amazing time. And then you don't beat yourself up for spending the $2,000 that you should have. Yes, I'm putting that in air quotes, put towards your down payment. You made that decision in that moment for a very real reason. You recognize that it would bring value to your life, and you committed to that decision. And then you move on. But now the next week someone says, well, hey, let's go to Vegas. And then the next week someone says, well, hey, let's go on this road trip. And the next, at some point, right, you probably have to learn that word no to yourself. And I know that can be a tough one, but this is the process of accomplishing things. We accomplish things because we do certain things that help us accomplish the thing. So that self-management and that discipline piece is pretty important. There might be multiple things, right? Different areas of your life. Maybe there are these big tangible outcome things like buy a house. Maybe it is, I want to go on this trip. Maybe it's more of a concept, like I want to be more connected to my family. Okay, well, why? Let's answer that question first. And then, why are you not currently at the level of connection to your family that you would desire to be? You should probably explore that. And then what can you do about it? Right now, here we're talking about involving other humans, and you're not in charge of those other humans. You're only in charge of you. So what are you willing and able to do to strengthen the connection with your family members? And are there specific family members? Or is this just a general with my family? I think the more specific you can get, then the more tailored your plan is going to be. So I think a lot of times we stop at that superficial level. I want to be more connected to my family. And then the year goes by and it's like, well, what have you done to do that? This is why the details really matter, so that you don't get to December 31st and look back and say, oh, yeah, I wish I would have. Oh, I guess I could have. Yeah, I probably should have. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. Not a great place to be. And you can avoid that by being intentional. In fact, that is one of the beauties of a vision board, is you are way more likely to accomplish things, experience things, reach goals, modify behaviors, if you've actually put it out in the universe on paper and been part of the plan, right? Actually move through the plan. Then if it's just this vague concept in your head at the beginning of the year, I want to be more connected to my family. Okay, great. And then what? You just sit around and the year goes by, and I maybe have done a couple of things, but if I've been more intentional, perhaps they would have been a different kind of elevated experience. I know we've all been in woulda, coulda, shoulda before. I know I have. That's one of the reasons I started doing this. I got tired at the end of the year, looking back and thinking, oh, yeah, I wish I would have. I mean, I am in control of that to the best of my ability. Of course, there are things that happen. I mean, trust me, of the things that happened in 2023, none of them were on my vision board at all. And yet here they are. And that's what you do, right? You deal with what comes your way. You control you. So if you've never done this, if this feels all kind of like woo-woo to you, it is woo-woo, and yet not really. It is actually based in science. It's not hard to figure out. It's really not. We're much more likely to do things that we say are important to us when we declare them out loud, when we have accountability, when we are actively engaged in the process and the plan, versus just having this vague, nebulous, I'm going to try. Now, I know some people have gone down the goal setting and the resolution road before, and they'll say, well, I just fail anyway, so why bother? Well, that right there tells you a lot. You've already decided you're going to fail. In that case, I mean, you're right. I mean, you can't fail if you don't try, so yeah, I guess you won't fail because you're not going to try. And yet, then what? Where do you get in life? You get to the end of the year, you get to 5 years, you get to 10 years, you get to the end of your life. And a lot of people look back with a little bit of regret. So if you've done this before, maybe you've tried to make a resolution and it didn't work. That's one of my favorite comments. It didn't work. It didn't work, or you didn't do what you needed to make it work, right? And resolutions, again, I kind of went down that road, and that didn't work for me for a number of reasons. I think for me, resolutions is it's very final. And most things in our lives are not final. Like, there are some, obviously, if it's like a habit that I really want to button up and make this my lifestyle habit and never, ever, ever not make it my lifestyle habit. But we tend to get in that all or nothing mode really easily. I'm going to do it all. That's what the whole first 3 weeks of January are for people. Oh, I'm going to do it all. Except that is not sustainable. And then you end up doing nothing. And then that doesn't get you where you want to go. Which is why maybe adopting a different approach, if you've done resolutions before and they don't work, probably it's because the approach really isn't helpful for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. And a different approach would be more beneficial. I think for some things, maybe it is a tangible outcome, right? Like, I want to run a marathon, or I want to buy that house, or I want to pay off that credit card bill. So there are some very concrete things, but they still require process, and they still require decisions, and they still require choices and self-management. They require all of that. I think however we narrate this in our mind really probably sets the stage and plays the biggest role for whether we are going to be successful or not. So if the story you've been telling yourself for years has not led you down the path you want to go, then you get to change the story. I mean, and you're actually the only one who can change the story. And maybe that starts with doing something you've never done before. Maybe it starts with rolling your eyes and then doing it anyway, which is what I did. That's how I got started with vision boards. Whatever, I'm going to roll my eyes and do this. And when I did it and I really started looking at it, I was like, yeah, that would be nice. I think I do want to do that. It made me much more committed to it. It is a visual reminder of the things that I said are important to me. And everything that shows up on that vision board, I can tell you exactly what it means and why it's important. These can also be very useful tools at the end of the year. So you look at that vision board at the end of the year, and it's an opportunity to celebrate all the things that you did and accomplished. It's also an opportunity to determine, is there anything on here that I didn't accomplish? And why not? What happened? You might find that it was a priority at a certain point in the year, and then other things happened, and this thing is no longer important because these other things take precedent. You might find if year after year you're putting kind of the same thing on that vision board and you're not really accomplishing it, either because it's not that important to you, or because you just haven't figured out the strategy to get you over the obstacles. And then we're going to want to dig into that a little so that we can get you over the hump, so that it can start to be an accomplishment rather than just another thing that you have to put on your board. A couple years ago, when I did an in-person vision board workshop, I brought mine, and I have all representation of nutrition and fitness and things. And somebody said to me, well, Michelle, why are those on your board? Like, that's your lifestyle. Why do you have to have it on your board? Well, I don't have to have it on my board, but it's a value. It's important to me. My board represents things that are important to me. Those are always important to me, which means they're always going to be on my board. They're not going to be the whole board, but they're always going to be represented there. Now, there was a time earlier where I was still working hard on minimizing my sugar intake and cleaning up some of my other dietary choices. So there were things that had a little bigger representation because that was still something I was actively working on. So there really is no right or wrong way to do it. I'm just here to encourage you to do it. And I really hope that you want to do it with friends and in a fun setting, because that is what the virtual vision board workshop is all about. In fact, I title it Mention Your Intentions, because that is how I see it. This is an opportunity to mention, what are your intentions for the year? How do you intend to spend your time, money, and energy? And we're doing it in a group collectively. I know there are people who gather friends and family and they do it in their room together with us, all virtually together as the workshop. There are people who just like to be quiet and do it themselves. I have really awesome speakers, and I say this every year, but the lineup of speakers this year is so fantastic. So excited. I am so excited. And every year I get the best feedback, like, wow, Michelle, that was incredible. And that's why I keep doing it. So the information is in the show notes. It is January 11th from 10 to 2 Mountain Time. If you can't make it for the whole thing or for any of it, it's totally fine, because I record the whole thing. As long as you register, you will get a link to the recording. Some people like to do it and then go back and listen to the speakers when they can really be intentional and listen to what they say. Because I'm telling you, my speakers have incredible insights, and they come from all facets of life with all different areas of expertise, all different approaches. I really do try to be thoughtful about the lineup of speakers each year so that we are representing a very diverse, eclectic background of people and their experiences, and even their knowledge and their skill sets and the processes that they use. What is a common thread with all of them is they are incredibly successful in what they do. So that being said, you got a few days to register. The link is in the show notes, so please click on it. I do not have a specified fee. I don't charge anything. I do ask if you are inclined to make a donation. Whatever you want to donate is fine. You do need to register. That's the only way you can get the Zoom link, so please do that. Forward that to anybody else that you think would be interested. Grab some friends, grab some family, be by yourself, do whatever you want. Once you register, I will get all of the information. Basically, it's very simple. You get a poster board or a canvas. You get some scissors, you find magazines, you maybe print out some things from the internet. You start thinking about words and phrases. Maybe you even start by making that list of the things that are important to you, right? Your goals, your values, your priorities, core principles. Just jot down some ideas. Get them out of your head and onto paper. It's a really good way to start. And then we go through the time together. You have time to work on the boards quietly. You have time to listen to speakers. I'll chime in and, have lots to say, I'm sure. It tends to be a really fun day. So I hope to see you there. That is it for this first episode of 2025 of the Be a Better Being podcast. I really appreciate all of you listening. And if you want to be a better being, you should just join me inside of it. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Be a Better Being podcast. We hope that what you heard today inspires you to embrace this journey of life with an open mind, a kind heart, and a willingness to learn and evolve. If you have a show topic idea or would like to be a guest, please visit betterbeings.net and fill out a contact form. Until next time, go and be a better being.